See, we should differentiate between do nothing farmers and organic farmers. Do nothing farmers, these guys, I've seen many Kenyan farmers, they just do the seeding. If they have time, they will do a little bit of weeding and the rest is harvesting. The economy of markets are skewed, is tilted. That is why the rich is growing richer and the poor is becoming poorer. So if you want to be a successful guy, you should turn the economic scales in favor of the poor. All the chemical farm products, all the GM products should be certified, not the organic products. We are unfortunately living in a place that the honest man has to say, I'm honest. I mean, why don't we label products saying that this product has got pesticides? This product has got GM. Why don't we do that? And I believe that organic is a lifestyle. When I was a young kid growing up to be an inspector, I had some time to meet one of the oldest inspectors of soil association. So he was telling me, son, I know that you will grow up to be an inspector, go inspecting a lot of farms, but do you know one thing? Unless the farmer is organic, the farm cannot be organic. It has changed the way I started thinking.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Organic Podcast. This is your home of organic conversations. I'm your host, the Organic Guy. And right around here, we have conversations on how we can make our food systems really get to work for us rather than against us. Today, I want us to have a conversation around how can we help our farmers make money from what they're doing. And to help me have this conversation is someone who has been doing it, has helped a lot of small-scale farmers see how they can get more money into their pockets, and also has been helping a lot in terms of helping sort of streamlining the value chain system and making it more efficient and practical for everyday farmer or guys in the value chain to do that. So we'll be talking around all those areas. He goes by the name of Dr. Selvam Daniel. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
I mentioned you have a very interesting background in the sense that you have an academic background and also an entrepreneurial background. So it's not something we see a lot in this area, because most of the time people are into the academia side and most people are into the entrepreneurial side. Is there like something that you like more? Do you like more of the academic side or in the entrepreneurial side?
To be very frank, I love the academics. I wanted and still want to be a scientist, and I am a scientist in many ways in what I do. But being an entrepreneur is a necessity, because if we want to bring things that happen in the lab into practice, I think a lot of entrepreneurial skills are required to make what we study and what we explore and what we research into practice.
I mean, I have a lot of questions around your professional life, but give us a little bit of context, like for guys who haven't heard about you before. Just like, where did you grow up? How was your environment growing up, and what was your sort of visions and dreams when you were young?
For me, I was born into an organic world. For many, it is getting into an organic world. For me, it is like being born into an organic world. My father is a very successful organic and social entrepreneur. He served the IFOM in the standards committee, and he was a very passionate agricultural economics, committed to organic agriculture. I think the childhood is like being born in organic is completely different. So we ate organic food. Organic food was a norm. Organic lifestyle was a norm for us. We didn't feel it unusual to be organic. We felt it was normal to be organic. As a child, we grew up in that environment, and I grew up as a young kid in central India. Though we are from south of India, but we settled in central India. We saw farms, we saw organic farms. We grew up in organic farms, eating organic food. And as I grew up in my teenage years, we found that we were being brought up in a different world, and we are facing a different world. So, and we always were at conflict between these two worlds. and that's how we grew up.
So growing up, like, were you brought in like a farming family? Like, when you woke up, you were sort of involved in an agricultural like stuff, maybe helping your parents in the farm or in the field. Was that sort of your setting?
Yes, my mother was into farming, practical farming, organic farming. She used to grow around 100 acres of organic farm. So it's my mother who is into practical organic farming. My father, being an academician, being an economist, and he was more into cooperatives, building farmers' cooperatives, and working in his professional life, in his academia, etc. But the farming side was opened up through my mother's eyes. So I have a different viewpoint when I see a farm. I see the gender perspective because I grew up in a farm which was managed by women.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. And something interesting I saw is that, of course, as I mentioned when we were starting, you actually have an academic side into it because you've studied all the way into having a PhD, and it's quite interesting. I saw that in your bachelor's you did, is it in industrial engineering? So how come you started with industrial engineering, and then how come you end up with a PhD in environmental science?
I'm a rare species by myself, going from a material science world into a life science world. So I have a combination of material science knowledge as well as life science knowledge. Well, it was an evolution for me. I graduated as an industrial engineer, and I was setting up industrial training institute for young youth, welding, carpentry, electrician, and all this kind of stuff. And it happened to be that in that village where I was setting up this institute, that the government had a program for watershed development, a soil and water conservation program, and there was no engineer to properly design those civil structures. So the government approached me, and I started to work on soil and water conservation program, which was different from the industrial engineering training I had, and that was what was an eye opener of working with the communities on soil and water conservation, which slowly moved me to specialize in environmental engineering. And as I specialized in environmental engineering, I came to understand that my heart is in ecology, and that's how I did my PhD in ecology.
Do you think in your professional life, your study of industrial engineering gave you an advantage? And I'm talking this from like an entrepreneurial point of view.
Yes, the industrial engineering background still helps me a lot when I design enterprises. Industrial engineering is basically designing factories, processing units, etc. When we design those processing units with the perspective of organic, it helps me a lot because I know the industrial engineering side and I also know the organic principles. So it helps me a lot.
So I'm trying to give guys a little bit of an idea of who you are because your background and what you've done is so immense. I could have tried to put it myself, but it would have been a very harder task. But I'm just give a little bit of like context on an overview of some of the things you've done, some of the areas you've worked on, and some of the brands and companies you've helped establish. Just give a little bit of quick overview of what that is.
I started my life as an organic farmer. I spent 5 years doing organic farming along with my mother, sugarcane, cotton, vegetables, and so on and so forth. I enjoyed that phase of life. From that, I went into organic advisory services, more like a consultancy services, helping many entrepreneurs to set up organic businesses. I started off with organic cotton, organic herbal products, organic cosmetics, and so on and so forth. So it helped me to see how entrepreneurs are budding in organic world. And from then on, I went into organic certification. I built one of the greatest certification programs in India. I was involved both on third party as well as PGS, and I set up both those systems of certification. From then on, I went to value chain development, like Ecology Forte, where I work now, is purely on developing value chains and we have done it locally, meaning both globally and locally. And we have also set up those institutions which support value chains like seed enterprises, testing and inspection institutions, certification organizations. So all this is a part of supporting the value chain.
I can see you're heavily involved in the organic world. Yeah, I was just thinking, like, from an Indian perspective, I think there is a lot of farming systems. So I'm talking about zero budget farming or natural farming. I'm not sure how agroecology or regenerative farming bonds in India, but from sort of like like a context, what do you think is the difference between organic and these other farming systems?
In fact, there is no difference as long as any system prohibits chemicals, pesticides, GM, and works for reducing external inputs. I think all of them work for a common goal. So I would not compete with other systems like regenerative, agroecology, and all those kind of stuff, because the basic idea is an ecosystem design. These design principles, some of them become too passionate on certain design principles and then dwell in that thing, right? So it's okay as long as they are all a part of our fraternity, an organic fraternity. Permaculturists, they are our organic fraternity. Natural farming guys, they are our fraternity. So there's nothing to be competitive between them. They are a part of us. They are part of our fraternity.
So when you say as long as they're not using external inputs or GMOs or synthetic fertilizers, why is that an important part of that ecosystem of farming?
Because all these chemicals, GM, etc., are short circuiting a natural system of farming. Organic, in very simple ways, is that we are trying to imitate a forest ecosystem. We say we biomimic forest ecosystem. We try to bring in all those biogeochemicals which happens in the forest ecosystem. Nobody fertilizes a forest, but it has the highest biomass productivity. Nobody does any pest management, but the least pests and diseases are in the forests, right? So something which we did as human beings short circuited all those things, and that's how we have low productivity, we have high pest and disease infestation. So our movement is going towards the forest.
And something interesting about organic, and yeah, it's something I'm interested in, and also it's something that you started with establishing the largest organic certification company as well, is something that separates organic with other systems is certification, I think. And when you look at it from like an organic perspective, why is organic certification an important part of that system?
You see, I would like to tell it differently. I would say that all the chemical farm products, all the GM products should be certified, not the organic products. We are unfortunately living in a place that the honest man has to say, I'm honest. We are living in a world where consumers need assurance, guarantees. I mean, why don't we label products saying that this product has got pesticides, this product has got GM? Why don't we do that? But unfortunately, we as organic people, we are a small section, both as producers as well as consumers. So we have to increasingly build confidence in people who don't believe us. That is why certification is existing.
Yeah, it's something that I don't see a lot of people appreciate, because in other categories or systems, we do have certification from, for you to become a doctor, you sort of have to be certified. For you to become an accountant, they have all these systems that give guarantee to the consumer of, hey, when you come to me, I'm actually legit. I am who I say I am. So that's an always interesting perspective. Now, from like an organic farmer's perspective, since you have worked with organic farmers and you have helped them certify their farms, is there a trend in terms of characteristics or like how they behave? Is there something you notice from these specific farmers?
I think very few people talk about organic lifestyles. And I believe that organic is a lifestyle. And a lifestyle that comes from a farmer, consumer, all the processors, all the intermediaries, all of them have an organic lifestyle. I have a small incident which practically changed me and the way I looked at organic. When I was a young kid growing up to be an inspector, I was being trained in soil association in Bristol in UK. So those times we had our interview with the government for getting ourselves qualified as inspectors. While the interview was going on, I had some time to meet one of the oldest inspectors of soil association. So he was telling me, son, I know that you will grow up to be an inspector, go inspecting a lot of farms, but do you know one thing? Unless the farmer is organic, the farm cannot be organic. It has changed the way I started thinking. You can inspect so many organic value chain components, maybe farming, processing, trading, even organic financing. But the people who run them, if they are not organic, I don't see the value of organic in any of those components.
Certainly. I mean, from a founder's perspective, it's the farmer who gives confidence even to the employees, people who work there. And I think you can walk into a farm and sort of feel even the employees or people who work there are feeding off the founders on what he does in his day-to-day activities or how he talks to his farmers as well. So there's that always dynamic. It might not be written down, but like the employees who work there sort of feed off that energy. So if you want to, let's say, establish a certification company, sort of going into organic farms and certifying them, is there something you can see in a certifier and say, you know what, I think you have huge promise and you're going to do very well in terms of helping certifying farms?
Though I established big certification companies and still part of a lot of certifying companies, still a part of their standard development program, etc. I am not a great promoter of certification. I believe certification should not be a requirement for organic. Looking at certifiers, I would tell them this is what we should be doing, is not being a burden both to the farmer as well as to the consuming community. Burden to the farmer in the sense both in terms of costs and burden in terms of trying to make them comply to something which is irrelevant to their situation and making us more and more relevant to the farmers to whom certifying agencies are serving, and to the consumers is being very transparent, explicit, and making them to gain confidence of the consumer rather than creating, sometimes certification agencies create barriers for building confidence with the farmers. So in this sense, I would ask them to look into traceability, looking into when somebody is consuming organic food, how they can relate to the person behind the product rather than looking just at the product. So certification agencies have grown and have been going in the direction which I am saying, but there's still a lot to do.
So from like a reform point of view, is that what you like to do? You'd like to see more certification agents do in terms of how we can improve the whole certification process? Is it about making the whole certification process easier for the farmer?
Yes. For example, all the standards and things which are relevant to the farmers should be in local language, right? Why should it be even operated in consumer's language, right? So the consumer's language should be translated in a way that local smallholder farmers are able to understand them. Yeah? In India, we have places where literacy is very low. So we should be able to use pictorial methods to make them understand that this is what the consumer is expecting from you. So making very simple, making it more approachable, and making the producer to understand the consumer is also very important. Where is your product landing into, right? And making the consumer to also understand the producer is also very important. That's why I was talking about traceability. Somebody who is producing in Kenya and supplying to somebody in Netherlands, that person who is consuming in Netherlands should be able to understand that this product is coming from so and so place in Kenya.
Yeah, the traceability part is also very important in giving confidence to the consumers in the long run. Something I always see, especially from India, is, you know, every year we get these statistics books about countries with the highest number of organic farmers, organic consumers, and where markets are doing very well. India is always at the top in terms of having the largest number of organic farmers. So, what is India doing right in terms of having this ability to have a lot of more organic farmers?
When I go to any village in any part of India, and when I sit with the village community, with the village elders, and I just ask them, who are the organic farmers in your village? And then all of them would say, okay, this is the list. Okay, we have X, Y, Z, A, B, C. These are the organic farmers. So I was wondering, why is it happening? And when I interviewed all those organic farmers, none of them are saying that I'm doing organic because I have a special market. All these farmers whom I interviewed, they always say, it's my way of life. It's not one village. Yeah? I'm saying almost all the villages I go, they have the list of organic farmers, and everybody in the village knows that these guys are organic. Why? Because they behave differently, they do things differently. So, organic was never for the market, right? Organic was always a part of their lifestyle, and everybody in the community knew that these guys are organic. And if they want organic food, they just go to these guys because they know, the whole village knows that thing. So, the word organic is a foreign word by itself, but it was a part of the lifestyle of people. With the coming in of commercialization of organic, the entrepreneurs coming in and saying, okay, this has to be presented in the international market, domestic market, there is a special thing like that. Those organic community which I said as, whom I said as organic lifestyle farmers and commercial organic farmers, these are two different communities. And I think the organic lifestyle farmers exist as models for those commercial organic farmers. And this kind of thing helped the propelling the how the organic commercial organic was propelled by those model farmers who existed, whether it was for commercial reasons or not.
Like from an Indian perspective, organic is a way of life for like every, if you walk into any village, you sort of bound to find like organic farmers. They might not themselves be consciously aware that they are organic in conventional definition terms, but by their practices they are organic. And it always amazes me when sometimes I see the communication of your prime minister is sometimes mentioned organic in social media, especially on Twitter, is like, we are empowering farmers in India to sort of adopt organic farming systems. So it looks like sort of ingrained, even from a government perspective, this is something they are actively trying to promote to farmers.
Organic is a part of culture, right? It's not that when you go to a village, there are, say, 500 people. The organic farmers are just five. Organic lifestyle farmers are just five. It's not that the whole, you understand. But those five people are distinct. They are known. Everybody knows that these guys are organic. They don't use chemicals, they don't use GM, they have a special way of doing things. So when the Prime Minister said, and his work saying that we are promoting natural farming, they have allocated huge funds for that. There is also a reason why he wants to expand that organic lifestyle people, is because we are faced with bad effects of the green revolution, and we are finding that on the ground, right? Our soils are depleting, production is going down, and so many things. So I think for a prime minister to take this as important as a defense deal, like he talks about natural farming, and next he's talking about a defense deal. So you can imagine how serious this matter is, with the food production going down, soil fertility going down, and now this has become a big. I think we as a nation are now modeling ourselves for other countries, other developing countries, to say we should take natural farming, organic farming seriously.
Yeah, that's always an interesting perspective to see. Even like the top officials in government sort of believe in that system. Sort of it helps give confidence, I guess, even to the players within the sector or even the farmers in the ground that hey, we have someone who actually supports what we are trying to do. Yeah, it's good to be sort of an organic farmer, but in the end, we have to find ways in how we can help these farmers make money from what they do. And I think this is something you've been doing very well. You've helped establish like a lot of successful organic brands. So from like someone who is looking from the outside in, like what does it take then to develop like successful organic brands?
I'll tell this by telling you a story, an incident. It's a true story which came into my life. There's this farmer called, his name is Padmakar. Okay, he comes from a very small village called in Jamnet. It's a small village. So I, as an inspector, I used to go and inspect this farm. He started with 5 acres. Next time I go, he's having 10 acres. Then he's having 15 acres. His area keeps on increasing, and interestingly, he's buying the lands of his neighboring farmers. So I was interested to know this guy is growing as an organic farmer, and people around him are selling their lands to him. So I wanted to ask them, why don't you guys do what this Padmakar is doing? He's an organic guy, he's successful, right? He's buying your lands. Why don't you do organic farming? They said, we can do what Padmakar is doing, but we cannot live like what Padmakar is doing. So that opened my eyes. So there's something what is called as we can do organic, and to live organic is different. So I went to Padmakar, and this guy, I told him, look, Padmakar, you are growing, you're commercially successful, but your competitors are saying this, that they can do what you do, but they cannot live like what you're living. So I want to know, how do you live? So he said, come and see. And I lived with him to understand what is different in this guy. So what he does, very simple things. He sees the sunrise and the sunset on his farm. Now it is very important that these guys, these other farmers, they don't see the sunrise and the sunset in the farm. Means this guy is early on the field, and when I go with him, he tells me, this sunrise we are going to see this bird. This bird is going to come, and we hear this sound of this insect. He is in tune with the nature. He understands the migration patterns. He understands which insects come when. He understands which soil is good for what. As he walks on the soil, he says, okay, this is soft, this is hard, and it is winter, so this is going to be hard. He talks as if that the soils are living. My soil is tired now. He calls his cows by name. He has never tied his cows. He calls them by name, and they come, he milks them. It was a different connection he had with nature. And that's why when his neighbor said, we can't live like this guy. So I don't believe we cannot commercialize true organic unless we try to live like Padmaka. Many people have come into the organic world with the intention of commercialization. They always fade out. I've seen people come in, they make money in 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. When turmoils hit them, when markets are not doing well, something went wrong, they will always leave organic. But these guys were lifestyle people. They are just their way of life, right? And nature always blesses people who respect nature. And we are in business of working with nature. And when we work with nature, nature really responds well.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So it's more of the person himself has to embody that brand that they're trying to develop. So if you go into a shelf and you see sort of that particular brand, you sort of feel a connection with them in how the brand itself is marketed, or how is it being displayed. So from a consumer perspective, is they have to have sort of a connection with what you're doing. And so that involves, like, the founder has to actively be out there telling their stories.
In my life, I met organic consumers who are having a different lifestyle. Many years ago, I started a farmers market, and this farmers market happened to be in the heart of Bollywood. So, Bollywood actors and actresses, right? So, these organic farmers come and sell their organic products, vegetables, and all. I found some actresses, well to do actors and actresses, earning millions of dollars. They would come in their, I don't know, Bentleys and whatnot, Rolls Royce and whatnot. They will come, they will buy from these farmers. Interestingly, I found a couple of actors bringing lunch boxes to these farmers. Imagine, they buy the product, they also bring lunch boxes to them. Look at the connection. Would we go to a farmer selling something and say, okay, I brought some lunch for you? What do we do now? With the farmer who is trying to sell kales for about, say, 20 shillings, we are arguing with him. Why don't you give me for 10 shillings? Organic lifestyle people, I've seen organic lifestyle consumers who have care, concern for the people who are producing. I've seen organic consumers traveling miles to find that organic farmer who produces that organic tomato and would like to spend one day with him. So this, we are living in an organic world where there is consumers with organic lifestyle thinking, and there are producers with organic lifestyle thinking, there are processors with organic lifestyle thinking, and this world of ours is not the same as the world which we are confronting every day.
Yeah, we live in a world where sort of you have to, I mean, thanks to the internet now, it's easier, I guess, to find people who have similar values or have similar beliefs in how you do. So I'm thinking from, let's say I want to establish like an organic brand that sells, let's say, chia seeds or any healthy products. And you also have like a conventional brand that sort of sells similar products. From a growth perspective, is it going like, does is the curve the same? So let's say an organic farmer is going to succeed in 5 years. Is the conventional farmer also going to succeed in 5 years as well? So is there like a difference in terms of growth?
Brands grow based on how we connect with consumers with similar worldview, the way we think. Fortunately, the worldview of organic is growing tremendously. I'm not talking just in the developed countries. The developed countries, they are targeting consciously that most of their consumption should turn to organic, right? Even in developing countries like India, Kenya, Tanzania, people have a connect to what is organic, right? So this worldview is increasing, but we are still a minority. We are still a small community. So when we, as a brand, organic brand, we can never compare ourselves to a conventional brand. So organic brands are going to grow slow, but are going to be sustainable, are going to be long term, and will stay in the market for a very very long time.
So they are more sticky in terms of, if a consumer came and bought from that brand, they are more likely to have an affinity to organic brands simply because of probably how they source their products or like the story behind that brand as well. Something interesting I mentioned earlier, the goal of at least some of the amazing work you've done is to help small scale farmers. And one of the themes that keeps coming out is being a pro-poor sort of system. How would you define like being pro? What does that entail?
It all came, the word pro poor into my life is when my father was in his deathbed. He died in 2005 December. He had very less time to face death. So it was about 5 days he was in the hospital. So he spent most of his time to try to advise me and my brothers on which direction we should go. So that time he was telling me that the economy of markets are skewed, is tilted. That is why the rich is growing richer and the poor is becoming poorer. So if you want to be a successful guy, successful value chain developer, you should turn the economic scales in favor of the poor to become more successful and set models which will be successful in taking people out of poverty. And it was in his deathbed, he had given me this vision and mission that all my value chains should be pro poor. So, what is pro poor? I also had a discussion with my dad. He's dying, so he's asking, "What is pro poor?" I'm asking, "What is pro poor?" So, first thing, the value chain should bring people out of poverty. Right? You cannot have a value chain where people stay stagnant. How do you do that? First is we need to give them fair price. You see, all our value chains, we never give premium to farmers. We don't believe in the concept of premium. Premium is a method of bribing farmers to organic, right? We don't bribe farmers to become organic. We give farmers fair price. What is fair price? We believe that if he is producing, he has the right to make profit. And unless we give that recognition of a farmer to make profit, we are creating an economic injustice on it. So we study the cost of production, and we believe that farmers should receive at least 50% of the cost of production as profit, right? So if the cost of production is say 1,000 shillings, we multiply by 1.5, it becomes 1,500, right? So he should get 1,500. That is 500 rupees is his 500 shillings is his due right for profit. So we had never had any problem. No farmer comes and tells us that we need premium, because we say this is our way of giving fair price. Are we wrong? So they all agree to this. So in our value chains, we had people coming out of poverty because we respect and give farmer the dignity to earn his profit. Second, we consider a farmer has the right to grow, right? Not only get his profit, but also grow. So we develop all kinds of avenues where farmer can invest on himself and on his farm. For example, we have set up equipment banks where farmers can rent equipment from us, right? We have set up seed banks where farmers can get seeds and inputs at lowest cost. And we also encourage farmers to produce seeds and distribute. We do not believe in seed as a business. We believe seed is a right of the farmer, right? Input is a right of the farmer, right? We don't believe in creating businesses out of that. So all this has taken people out of poverty. And very important cog in the wheel, I call them the cog in the wheel of taking people out of poverty, are the women. The more we invest on women, the more people are coming out of poverty. And it is our recognition that where possible, we try to invest on women. Even in our ecology forte, all our value chains, we ensure that 50% representation, not only as a workforce, but also as decision makers, are 50% represented by women.
Yeah, then that sounds very resource intensive, especially in the beginning of trying to create that system, because you have to, make sure that farmers have access to the seeds or like to equipments or like farmers into the market. So in the beginning, is it supposed to be that like resource intensive?
Yes, any value chain development, we require money to build a resource, build a value chain, right? But I would say the attitude behind those people who are setting up the value chain is very important. If it is merely to create profit for the investors, we don't run long, right? Farmers do not trust you more, right? At one point of time, farmer is just a contractual person for you. We do not call our farmers contract farmers. We call them as farmer partners. To have this difference between a contract farmer and a farmer partner is that is pro poor.
So when you say like a farmer partner, that does mean they also have a stake in the sort of in the whole business.
Yes, back in India we have a farmer producer company which is aggregating the main produce from the farmers, and those farmers who are supplying into the system, they become the shareholders of the company. The name of the company is pro poor farmer producer company. So these people are part of the general body, they elect their directors, etc. So they are part of the governing council.
So the pro-poor system is a system that can be implemented in other places as well. So it's you have done it in India. Can it also be done, let's say, in Kenya?
It can be done anywhere in the world. It's only the way we think. We change the way we think, we can do these value chains anywhere in the world.
Yeah, I don't want to sort of put it in my own words, but you can put it in your own words, like in a simple sentence or maybe in a few words. What does then the pro-poor system or value chain look like?
It creates justice, social justice, and economic justice, in addition to the environmental justice that we are already doing, right? So, being just, all that we need to do is being just.
And being just is just an agreement between me and the farmer. So both of us have to be in agreement on what does fair, honest, or just look like.
See, the general concept is we need to give money to develop farmers. That is a false notion. We don't need to be, being charitable to them. They are not beggars. Farmers are not beggars. Farmers have the right to live like dignified people.
That's true. And then they also have needs in terms of like they have kids to take to school or they have like bills to pay. So in terms of being able to attain those basic things that they need in their lives is a very important part. Something interesting about you as well is that you've been able to build sustainable value chains and really successful value chains. So I'm thinking, since you have that knowledge in building such value chains, and I think this is a problem that a lot of people, especially in Kenya, we don't have like really working value chain in terms of from farmer right to the consumer. So you can just give us like an outlay or like an overview what it takes to build like a really successful value chain.
I'm talking particularly in the context of Kenya right now, because the experiments in India is very successful, right? Like I said, we are now working with around 7,500 farmers. We are into domestic export. We are okay. It's a successful model. But how do we replicate that in Kenya? My journey in Kenya is about 3 years now. First model which I saw in Kenya is what is called as the outgrowers model, and we tried to develop an outgrowers model in Uasin Gishu in Eldoret for sunflower, and I felt the spirit of the outgrowers model. The spirit of the outgrowers model is there is a concept of off-taker and there is a concept of grower. The off-taker and grower sit on opposite tables. They always look at each other with the element of suspicion between each other, and there is always a class difference, right, between that, which I have experienced in Uasin Gishu. I see a limited opportunity in outgrowers model, and one of the reasons why value chains are not emerging and becoming very successful, I blame it on this model of outgrowers model. When we moved down to Homo Bay and we started to look into cooperatives, that is one model I think Kenya should revive. We had the very good experiences with cooperatives. There, we see another situation. We see the board of the cooperatives sitting and discussing with us. as equal partners. They decide the price, they decide so many things. If we agree, we are a part of them. If we don't agree, we are not there. So I saw the spirit of cooperatives in Homo Bay, which was, which is, I think, if we ignite that direction, I think Kenya is going to explode in that direction. The third model, which I recently encountered, which I see also a great possibility, is when the farmer cooperatives in the form of farmer unions and the county governments try to synchronize their efforts. I see that also a great potential because the county government is putting in so many efforts in their extension services, in value chain development, and connecting to the farmers and all this thing. And there you have farmers unions, and then you have a value chain enabler like us who is willing to buy their produce and take it into the markets. So this synchrony between county governments, farmer unions, and value chain enablers are going. I feel this is the right approach where Kenya should go through.
So does it sound or look like similar to the first model of, hey, you have growers and then you just have people who come and buy those particular products? What is the difference then between those two models?
In the outgrowers model, there is an off-taker and a grower. Here, the off-taker's role is called as value chain enablers. When they say value chain enablers, they are not just doing the work of purchasing the product. Okay, they are a part of the system in getting the inputs in place, the right inputs. They are a part of the certification mechanism. They are a part of quality control. They are part of consumer association guarantees. So the role of the value chain enabler is much larger than just buying. And producer becomes a producer organization. We are not dealing with one person, but we are dealing with a producer organization which has also enlarged responsibility. Not just they have got into the role of aggregation. They have grown into the responsibility of collective bargaining. So this is a very big difference.
Yeah, I see. So the producer organization is not dependent on the government or then the county government. So it's an independent organization from the county government.
Producer organization, it is their choice whether to involve the county government or not. I have gone to Homo Bay, I have gone to Busia. There are several opinions. There are cooperatives who love to work with county governments. There are unions, they don't want to work with county governments. But in my opinion, it's up to them.
So you think that the cooperative model is the best model for
organic value chains. I'm not talking about conventional, but for organic value chains, we should certainly go into cooperative. In Homo Bay, I also understood that there are SACCOs, right? This is a new thing, there are self-help groups, right? So SACCOs also can be activated for this.
Yes, they are very popular, especially in the rural areas. Have a lot of circles. They are just like a chama or like mamas just come together, they contribute money, or like they have a specific goal they work towards. So that's, I can see that also being an important part of that process as well. It's something I also saw you explained a lot. So let's say, for example, take the cotton value chain. It's something that you've worked on before. Just give us like an outlay. How does that look like? So from just a farmer producing the product up to the ending into the consumer, how does that whole process look like?
The cotton value chain is a very complicated value chain. It's not as simple as the other value chains, because cotton has the component of growing, component of ginning, component of spinning, garmenting. By the time it comes to the shelf, it has crossed various steps, and also it crosses various geographies. It is produced somewhere, produced and ginned somewhere. It is spun somewhere else. It is weaved somewhere else, garmented somewhere else, and retailed somewhere else. For example, let's take the case of Kenya. Kenya produces in jeans. It might be spun in Bangladesh, Vietnam, Indonesia, right? It may be garmented in Vietnam and sold in European markets. So the geographies are so far away. So to do this supply chain, you need expertise to work in several geographies at the same time. That is the intricate part of organic cotton value chain. And here in organic cotton value chain, we should be able to rope in, bring in textile brands and textile brands with their spinners, garmenters, and whole value chains together to work with the ginners and the producers. That is the most challenging part in organic cotton.
Okay, yeah, I see. That's a different, very difficult task for one to get involved with, because yeah, bringing all those different actors and sort of getting to align in a similar vision or like vision of what needs to be done that value chain. It's suddenly a difficult task. So I'm thinking you've worked with small scale farmers in India and also you've worked with small scale farmers here in Kenya. Do you see a difference or do you see similarities between these two types of farmers?
The similarities are that they work small holding in the sense their holding is small, right? And they are working in resource poor conditions, right? Here, the resource poor is different from the Indian resource poor. The Indian resource poor conditions are water, because we are working in very less water or excessive water, right? We are either in a flood situation or in a drought situation. So that is the kind of resource poor conditions we are in. Here, the resource poor is something different. Climate is very favorable, right? Imagine you can grow any crop at any time. There is no particular cropping season in Kenya. So it's such a big advantage. But the resource poor conditions are something different. Their access to finance, their access to resources like input, seeds, etc., and that kind of resource poor conditions, they are there. So both are in resource poor conditions, but the differences of resource poor is different. In terms of organic, in India you can go to any village and you can find organic lifestyle people. In Kenya, I could not identify such people. But there are several elements of that existing part and parcel here and there. Right? I could see some seed savers. I could see some people working on green manuring, soil fertility improvement, etc. But as a lifestyle, I couldn't find people in villages.
That is true. That's something I've also I can also say that I've noticed, and I think there's a very thin line between organic farmers in Kenya and traditional farmers in Kenya. I mean, you can argue that most rural farmers, to an extent, are traditional farmers in the sense that they just use like those traditional practices, and in most cases, they are assumed to be organic farmers. So I see that part as a difference. So the difference is more of a mentality of which these farmers have towards organic.
See, we should differentiate between do nothing farmers and organic farmers. I met one farmer in Vihiga. He is an organic farmer. Everything, all components of organic, crop rotation, pest and disease management, everything. I saw everything in that farm. But incidentally, he had been trained somewhere to be organic. So he has all those components, but the commitment to organic. Okay, he doesn't have an organic market, nothing like that. But he's convinced that I should be organic, so I'm going to be organic. So I did find one organic lifestyle farmer in Vihiga. There must be more. Probably, I think the role of NGOs and the sensitization program, which the NGOs are doing, is a good job. So I feel organic lifestyle farmers, like the person I met in Vihiga, would be more and more, but I'm unable to locate them.
What do you mean the difference between organic farmer and do nothing farmers?
Do nothing farmers, these guys have seen many Kenyan farmers, they just do the seeding. If they have time, they will do a little bit of weeding, and the rest is harvesting.
Okay, so they're not actively involved in the farming process.
But I found something different also. The women farmers in Kenya are completely different from the men farmers. And I see a great potential of these women farmers when they enter into the organic stream. They are going to revolutionize the Kenyan organic landscape.
Yeah, because they are so heavily attached. I mean, they have like a responsibility of feeding the family, and I guess like you can argue farming is an important part of who they are and what they do in their day-to-day lives. I saw you have a very interesting project in Kenya. You are calling it Moja Seeds, where you're trying to sort of establish where like farmers can sort of establish and sort of preserve their local indigenous seeds. Why is that an important project that you felt like you needed to start?
When we started our work in sunflower, we came to know that the sunflower seeds are hybrid and been supplied through county governments, and these county governments go out of seeds from nowhere and for reasons unknown, and then the whole value chain just stops. So that is the time we understood that if we do not address the seed issue, we will not be able to be we will not survive. But we are deeply committed as a part of our pro-poor principle that seed sovereignty. We believe that farmers need to be given sovereignty. One of the sovereignty issues which we are dealing is seed sovereignty. So we believe that if a farmer doesn't even have seed, how is he going to even live? So we believe in seed sovereignty. Back in India, we have farmers who are highly skilled into organic hybrids, right? They can do male, female, all those kind of. But we found in Kenya to develop organic farmers to that level will take time. So let's work with open pollinated varieties, right? I mean, there are good examples of successful OPVs of every product, every crop. So, what we do in Umoja is identify successful OPVs and just do maintenance breeding. We are not doing any varietal improvements. And we started with sunflower. Now we are almost ready for commercialization of sunflower. We're doing cotton, we're doing groundnut, we're doing now onions, tomatoes. So Umoja is a business entity. It has to generate business to survive. But the survival is not based on taking away seed sovereignty from farmers. Like when we say we are doing OPVs, the farmer can save seeds and need not come back to Umoja again.
From a conventional model, so let's say like in Kenya we have farmers who sort of save their own seeds, and then we have like professional hybrid producers, seed companies that are really specialized in that system. So where does Umoja lie in this space?
See, the key what I said is maintenance breeding. We would encourage farmers to save seeds and distribute themselves, right? But at a certain point of time, because they are doing it in their farm, the breed characteristics start going down. That is why the support required for that seed sovereignty is maintenance breeding. So farmers who feel that their sunflower, for example, is a highly cross-pollinated crop. It could happen that they are growing their sunflower beside another hybrid crop. The result of that farm-saved seeds is not the same as the generation which they planted.
I think it's a very much needed space, because a lot of farmers nowadays like cannot differentiate between the hybrids that they usually get, and in most cases most farmers are shocked that they can't really use the hybrid seeds they've bought, and they're sort of stuck in that treadmill of going to buy seeds every time. So I think that will be help them in terms of discovering and also making themselves more like become scientists themselves, because now they can learn a trick or two on how they can improve their seeds and maintain their seeds. So that's interesting. You've been in the organic sector now, I think, for 25 years plus, involved in the organic sector. You've seen a lot. You've been part of creating a lot of brands and involved in improving the system. What does your eyeball tell you? So let's say 10, 20 years from now, where do you see the organic sector at?
I think what is the differentiating thing from where I started in 95 to today? The differentiation is GM. Those days we were only fighting against pesticide. Now we are fighting against GM. I think that is going to be a more serious issue than pesticides, because pesticides people have already understood that this is something very harmful to them. When you label a product that this has got GM food or GM component, nobody is buying that. In US, it is a requirement to label GM foods, but in our country, both in Kenya and India, we are not labeling those foods, and so dangerous. So one is to fight against GM, as that's a new thing which has happened to us. The second is Gen Z. This is a new thing which has happened to our society, right? In all, Kenya, India, everywhere. And I found Gen Zs to be highly responsible people, highly creative, and they are a very different type of people. And when I interact with Gen Zs, all of them know organic. I have never encountered a single Gen Z who does not know about organic. And these people are going to create a big revolution in our markets. And we are already experiencing this, that the people who come to our retail counters, to our e-commerce stores, etc., are all these Gen Z guys. So now our marketing, our communication, our way of interaction, we are more attuned to the Gen Zs. And Gen Zs not only to be involved as consumers, but now there is another aspect which we have started to think how to involve Gen Zs into farming. We have done the age census of our farmers in India. Most of our organic farmers are above the age of 50. And which is, I mean, if these guys another 10, 15 years will be phased out. So what do? We now want the Gen Zs to come into organic farming. And I see there is a potential in involving them.
Yeah, and I can see there's a lot of movement of Gen Zs because I think in some way or form they feel like the urban life is too fast for them. So they have this feeling like, hey, I want to go into rural areas where I can sort of like have a slow life. And the farming life is an option for them now to sort of consider and try and see maybe this is my life. This is a life that I can get used to. So it's quite interesting. You see that phenomenon in your own e-commerce or like on how people are buying. So that means they have more knowledge on what this particular food system does to them. So do you contribute that to like the fact that they are more aware and sort of have enough knowledge on what organic can do?
See, Gen Zs, I consider them as highly principled, okay, and committed, and they are very passionate in what they do. I mean, they are a generation we are blessed with. So these guys, because of social media and their communication speed, the speed of communication is very high among Gen Zs. These attributes are going to revolutionize organic markets very soon.
You've talked about organic markets. Are they more of local consumers or more of an export consumers?
See, the word certified organic and organic has to be differentiated. When we're talking about certified organic, I believe it's for the markets in Europe, US, etc. When we look at local consumption, they need not be per se certified the way markets are for export. Right? There are different types of quality assurance mechanisms for domestic consumers, and I feel domestic consumption is increasing if we are able to bring in producer consumer interactions like farmers markets. That is what is going to bring domestic markets.
As we finish, you have been involved in the organic sector now for a while. So I'm wondering, do you ever think about your legacy in terms of like when all is said and done? How would you like the whole farming on the organic sector to sort of remember you?
See, my challenge now is to bring young people into the organic world. We are investing a lot on young people, both in terms of making them aware, making them involved. For example, Ecology Forte, we have decided as a HR issue that we will employ people below the age of 30. And right now, 90% of our workforce are below the age of 30. That is a conscious decision taken by us that to get young people into the system. So, legacy cannot be made unless the next generation is adopting what you are doing at present, right? Like for me, it's a generation, my dad and then me, right? And now my daughters, right? So, if a legacy is not there unless there is a generation which imbibes and accepts your way of doing things.
That's a commendable conscious decision you made there in terms of getting more people, young people involved in organic farming. And I think the earlier they get exposed to it, the better, because now you can imagine what it does 5, 10 years from now. The whole organic system is sort of ingrained in them. Now they understand it better. And when they have mentors like you are holding their hand, then I think their work becomes a little bit easier. This is the part of the conversation where I usually do rapid fire questions. So what I've done, I've prepared 10 questions for you. I'll shoot them to you. And what I require from you is like short, straight answers to the questions. And hopefully you guys will get to know a little bit more about yourself. Are you ready?
Yeah, let me get ready.
Okay, so the first question is what is the one question about food you think humanity isn't asking?
People are still not asking about adulteration and contamination. Okay, these are two things which people are not asking.
Second question, what is the biggest misconception people still have about organic farming?
Consumers feel that if my product is free from pesticides, it is organic. Organic is much, much, much more than that small element of no pesticides. Of course, organic foods should not have pesticide and will not have pesticide, but that's not the end of the story.
Third question, who has inspired you most in the global organic movement?
Musano Fukuoka from the One Straw Revolution. He really. I happen to also work in his farm, and so he has been a great inspiration to me.
Fourth question, if an organic farmer could embody one core value, what should it be?
Love for nature.
Our fifth question, what is one word that captures the essence of organic farming?
Biodiversity.
Sixth question, which book has shaped your philosophy on agriculture the most?
One Straw Revolution.
And the seventh question, what do you consider the most underrated superpower of a smallholder farmer?
To be productive in a resource poor situation and being resilient to the situations which is adverse to him.
Eighth question, what is one piece of advice you believe new social entrepreneurs should ignore?
They always feel that we need to scale up as soon as possible. I feel that unless you are extremely perfect in what you're doing, you shouldn't scale up. I always think about this organic marketer who said, if you cannot do small things perfectly, you cannot do big things perfectly.
Ninth question, what is one quote that resonates with you most?
Giving premium is bribing farmers to organic.
And the last question, if you could speak to your 18-year-old self, what advice would you give him?
The advice, I would have started as an agricultural engineer, then as an industrial engineer.
Okay, yeah, but the industrial engineering sort of I think gave you a good base for your later work. So, but anyway, yeah, that is well understood. Thank you very much for making time for the podcast. I really, really appreciate it, for sharing your wisdom and yeah, some of the amazing experiences you've had so far. If people want to follow your work or like just want to get in touch with you, how could they do that?
So lately, I started my own website, selvamdaniel.com, because of the so many work I'm doing in several organizations. So I tried to consolidate in one place, that is www.selvamdaniel.com.
Okay. So I think that is the easiest way. Yeah, I've seen the website. Yeah, it has a very good overview about what you do. So that's pretty interesting, and all the information is pretty much there, and they can easily get in touch with you as well. So thank you very much, and yeah, until the next podcast, remember to be organic. Cheers.